very warm welcome and hello to everyone, to all our viewers, to another episode of Strat-Chat. And, I'm very excited to welcome today Vivek Sapre, who joins us from Mumbai and serves as the CHRO at Veranda Learning. Uh, Having an illustrious career, moved from strategy and consulting into HR, which is, and I would say, an exponential move. Usually we see people moving from this side to the other, but we've also had great examples like Vivek who've moved in from the business side to come into HR. And I think his journey since then with both fintechs as well as with education has been remarkable. Uh, I'm excited about this episode with you, Vivek, and I welcome you again.
Thanks a lot, Gaurav, and pleasure is on mine to be on the platform.
Bahut badhiya. So, how about starting with your journey itself? What got you
Mhm.
from strategy and consulting into HR?
Yeah, so I will go back even before my strategy days, I would say. Like when I got into corporate world for the first time, I joined Infosys, software engineer, IT, and then I thought that manager is probably the profile I want to be rather than to be a coder. And then my those days manager suggested Vivek then do a MBA and then do it from a Ivy League MBA. And so I went for CAT preparation, could clear SAT, etc. All that happened. And then I was looking for marketing, joined marketing, one of the Tata Motors subsidiary to start my career journey with working directly with CMO. And then since then, or probably always, I was very open to try my hands at different things. So I remained, you can say, role agnostic, sector agnostic, domain agnostic in at least my own thought process. And something interesting and good came my way, I was open to explore. So I won't say it was a very thought through or methodical approach that my move from one to other happened. But if good opportunity came my way, I thought, why not? I was open. So from marketing, I wanted to be as close as possible to customers. So got into sort of consumer behavior oriented data science in Mu
Mm,
Sigma. I kept changing
mm,
locations, then got an opportunity to join BIU, kind of set up the BIU and L&T finance of those days. And then soon when I joined there, I got an opportunity to join hands with the new COO of
mm.
their retail lending business and lead product and strategy. And then lending business product strategy started to happen. Good years of couple of years of work alongside BCG also to get L&T Finance bank ready in those days. Banking license were on the
Yes.
anvil. And in anticipation of that, BCG was working very closely with L&T Finance, and I got chance to be part of core team, work closely with MD of L&T Finance, BCG partners, and to get bank ready was probably the starting point of unknowingly, knowingly getting into the shoes of HR, somewhat in the shoes of HR,
Right.
because three broad transitions were required. One was infra, from
Mm,
an NBFC look and feel to a bank look and feel, how that would be. Other was software or the platform, from a simple loan management system to a core banking software, right? And thirdly, it was about people, someone who is very fixated on I'll do collections all my life or I'll do tractor loan all my life. That
mm.
person to be imbibed with the thought process that there is more for me in it, and I can be like the mini CEO of a branch, managing asset side, liability side, and whatnot. So
Right.
people transformation of people change was the point where you need to enable through right L&D, right incentive, right compensation and whatnot. And I started to get a bit granular into those detailing. That banking license thing did not happen. I anyway was closely working with consultants, so got influenced by that glamour of consulting and all. Wanted to be amongst the consulting, and some good opportunities came my way. But EY was at that time setting up a NBFC vertical within their BFSR financial service practice, a very focused on NBFC, and thereby I got a very good opportunity to align my experience till then, larger experience till then, to what they were looking for, and benefit
Right.
from my network and background, all that. And that journey happened almost very good 3, 4 clients in NBFC space I got to work with. And when you are in those shoes where one end you are managing projects and team, and again doing the transformation from say branch structure to vertical, or vertical structure to
Mm.
branch NBFCs. You're again dealing with these three transitions: infra, software, IT, or ultimately people. Third being people. So
Right.
again, I was doing, and again I was working very closely. I was part of financial advisory, business advisory, and in my team used to be those from people advisory, because lot was HR transformation and transition, change management,
Correct.
people management,
Correct.
right? So invariably
Correct.
in things like EY, when you are at a manager level, you are also required to do business development. And some of my pitches were being made to NBFCs and fintech, and some of the clients which were seeing me from a different lens, that prospect employee, from that lens, probably they were evaluating while I was pitching them. And one of them, in fact, few of them did reach out to me, would you be our head of corporate strategy? Would you be our head of this and that? And somewhere down the line, it worked out with the fintech I joined next, where they
Right.
wanted me to be head of HR. And their context was, you know, product, you know, strategy, you know, business language, you would know people, what they will need to be successful. You can probably see
Yeah.
it better than conventional HR, right? And their outlook was, of course, different, and it resonated with me, that why not? I'm always open to explore interesting things. This will be getting into the shoes of very senior leadership at a very good juncture in a
Mm.
sunrise. So why not try my hands, right? So from a sort of middle management level, you get elevated to a senior leadership, right? And then you have to grab opportunity. And in startups, you would know there are no absolute silos. They won't say
Correct.
that you are while trying to do product or marketing or BD or whatnot, right? So right from corporate strategy to anything was on the anvil. It was up to me. I want to get my hands dirty into what. And I was a person who loved to fold my sleeves and got involved into lot. And then slowly, as the organization grew from 0 to 1, 1 to 10, journey of HR started to happen. So I had to start focusing on, or picking, you can say, that would I be looking for another stint into product, or would it be strategy? Would it be
Mhm.
BD? Or would it be HR? And somehow started to like HR. When every day is different, because people problem are unpredictable. People issues are much unpredictable. Business still
Correct.
will have some regulatory bodies will still have, I mean, you can anticipate, okay, now something is going to happen. But with people, you cannot. So every day becomes a very different one. And that was something which started to give me K. And from then to almost now, 8.5, 9 years since then, I continue to be in HR. Interesting journey, more and more responsibility and things coming on my plate. And yeah, wonderful it has been till now.
No, I must say, I mean, very, very interesting story. And I must also congratulate your previous employers on spotting the HR champion in you. Because I think it's hard for HR to, get all aspects of the business. And if somebody's coming prepared with those already in the previous years, I think it makes that job, all the more
Hmm.
power packed in that sense, right? I mean, so I think must say a good move, and I would encourage more people like yourselves, to move in from business roles into HR roles and cross pollinate that understanding. So, you joined New Growth at a time when things were ramping up, I would say, and
Hmm.
you also in your current avatar in your current organization are part of a growth story, right? I mean, there is a lot of action, as we know, whether it is fintechs or edtechs. And my underlying question is that, there is always a dearth of good people, and finding good people at the right pace, to fuel the growth of the organization is always a challenge which, an HR leader sort of needs to overcome. What have been your mantras or your, I would say, a couple of hacks that you may want to share with the community of HR
Hmm.
folks who are listening and,
Hmm.
to help them overcome this struggle? What are things that have worked for you, you know?
Yeah, so I would like to break this response into three, four broad areas. One is I have been fortunate enough where my supervisors, my bosses, the company owners, or CEOs have been very open to look at talent across sector.
Hmm.
They have not been very fixated that education, then it has to be education, or fintech and BFC, then only fintechs have to be. One is that has been a blessing. And there has been an openness to spot good talent and then onboard them. At times, role
Hmm.
will get decided later. With that mindset, also some level of hiring has been done. Some good talent has gotten onboarded. So one is this
Hmm.
openness was a big thing for me in whatever role I was trying to support the organization. And second is, see, India is a very big talent market, and at least the setups I have been part of. When we were looking for talent, our number used to be in few dozen, maybe a few hundred in a year, right? While if you look at the catchment, the possible catchment of talent, when it's like you are seeking a drop of water from an ocean, right? So one
Correct.
is that, so that does give you ability to choose. It's not that startups will have dearth of applicants.
Right.
Employer brand plays its role, but at the same time, there are so many in the industry who want to either do away with bureaucratic hassles of, or they want more seniority and more role and more ownership coming their way at younger age, or
Correct.
they probably want removal of siloing out, which happens
Hmm.
in a large corporate. If you are in a specific
Hmm.
role, it will be like walls cast around you. You cannot get into left and right of it. While
Correct.
in startups, these barriers and walls aren't there. And then if you, even if they are there, they are not so rigid. So a lot of good talent will always be on a scout of this. Now you have to be able to narrate your story right to them. And
Hmm.
during selection, probably 50-50 emphasis has to be on functional side and skill set you want, and as well as on aptitude, intent, and culture fitment. You cannot
Hmm.
just go for, okay, functionally, I have to be 100% fit profile, and then other things are not being looked at. Startups will have a culture where a lot of ambiguity will be there, a lot of role
Hmm.
clarity, ambiguous areas will be there. You may be asked to do or expected to do things which are nowhere
Hmm.
on your JD when you got the JD, right? So someone who is open to try hands at different thing, open to fold the sleeves, even if being hired at senior level. There won't be a
Hmm.
EA to a V P in a startup, right?
Correct.
So someone who is open to things like that, you have to see that culture fitment.
Hmm.
Uh, and then one blessing which has been there in recent hiring, I would say, is slowly job security is been getting diminishing in the mind of talent, because probably
Yeah.
more confidence is there growingly that if I am actually a talent, I'll get something good coming my way, even if
Correct.
something happens. And this mindset is more and more pronounced in Gen Z. I mean,
Correct.
in fact, they are the ones when I interact with them, being in education sector, I do get a lot of chance to interact with them, freshers, those who are undergoing graduation or PG. And a lot of them are talking about, I want to be gig worker, I want to be freelancer, right?
Hmm.
Which probably my generation would have been not even imagining when we were passing out. We were looking for a standard, stable, good brand
Correct.
and job, and that's how 40 years are gonna be. They are like 2 months in a year. I want to travel. I want to see the world. I want to do this and that, and thereby the rest of the 10 months, I want to be very focused on what I want to do and earn decent money to be able to do those 2 months what I want to. So very clear in their mind, and thereby that job stability or insecurity is out of equation. One
Hmm.
of the area
Hmm.
where startups used to struggle when probably they used to, maybe still some are, but we don't see that much of a struggle anymore, was because of this mindset, job stability, job security. Now it is about quality of work, projects, assignments, excitement, energy,
Sure.
and in sync with what I want to do in my life. As long as these things are there, it is immaterial. Probably startups have an advantage because a lot of decisioning happens very locally, very promptly. So
Correct.
someone who is going to feel stuck is unlikely to get that stuck feeling in a startup. Okay, things are moving. I don't have to wait. 3 days ago, I gave that proposal. It's approved, and now I have to work on it.
Correct.
In a
Correct.
large conglomerate, probably it would have been 3 months wait period. Okay, proposal, it's in wait state, right? So pros and cons of both things. But yeah, it is not anymore probably that difficult. There will be niche roles where we'll have to take help of. seasoned recruitment partners, of course,
Mm.
who will be able to pitch our story to maybe larger gamut than what we may be able to reach on our own. So
Mm.
that
Mm.
happens.
Mm.
We do need complementary support at times, but largely
Mm.
it has been not a showstopper or a you would say where we are getting stuck that oh we don't have right people and because of that we are unable to grow.
No, I think it's very fresh. I like your perspective, and I personally also ascribe a lot to some of this, very deeply, that, talent across sectors, or openness to spotting talent and figuring out the roles later. I think these principles have stood the test of times, and entrepreneurs or organizations and startups and even larger firms who've been able to sort of operate with that talent mindset today have much larger talent pools available internally versus those who've just been trying to fill that seat with someone, who just exactly knows how to do the job they're trying to
Hmm,
hire for. So yeah, brilliant, brilliant piece there. And I think you made a very pertinent point in saying that, the whole importance of job security getting diminished. I think that's a big space, big space. And I think, um, one aspect is that Gen Z, which you mentioned that, of course, uh, their prerogatives are different and they don't care as much about job security as far as they're doing meaningful work, etc. But I think the other real piece, even with some of the people of our age or beyond, what I'm also seeing is that I think job security, I mean, when you're even seeing some of the larger brands lay off and lay off with grace, I think the acceptance of jobs coming and going and restructuring, I think as a market, we are maturing to accepting that it's not me, it's
hmm,
organizational decision, and that's fine. I think there was a point
hmm,
in time when people would fear, these things more. But I think now the entire story around that is changing. But I think very
hmm,
pertinent point which you made is around the talent brand piece. Um, and which leads me to the next question, right? I mean,
hmm,
one is, of course, getting in the right people and portraying your talent story, your talent brand in the right uh, manner. But the second is also being able to live that brand, right? For the people who are there, and
hmm, hmm,
all the
hmm,
promises that you make to people when you bring them in, living up
hmm,
to all those promises and giving them an
hmm,
organization and a turf where they are happy on a day-to-day basis. They are succeeding. They're
hmm,
going beyond in uh, achieving never before milestones and creating that stickiness. So,
hmm,
what are your two, three top mantras there, if I can ask? How do you create that engagement, that fabric of success?
hmm. Yeah, sure. So yeah, there can be plethora of employee engagement, talent management in initiatives, and I mean, of course, we try to do our hands into a lot of them. But two, three things probably we want to be very careful about and particular about is one is across this 8.5, 9 years of my HR journey, I have worked with leaders who, through me or through HR practice, wanted to create a culture where employees get respectful treatment. And this is a bare minimum hygiene, I would say, but in many organizations, this doesn't get followed. Right. So it itself becomes a very strong differentiating point that come what way, what level of stress, what level of month-end pressure, whatever it is. But a respectful, dignified treatment has to be there. There cannot be n number of initiatives which can replace it and I mean, can make it good to have, but not mandatory to have kind of a thing. Right. One is that it is very basic. I would say it is very basic. You don't need a big HR head or CHRO. But unless that basic is being followed, I think a lot of other icing on the cake will be without the cake being there. Right. So one is that we want to propagate that very seriously. Second is if you are having a very different kind of a product to sell or different proposition, different niche customer segment, then you also ought to have very decent functional training. Otherwise, the talent you are getting and with the openness you are getting, you want to get, right? Sector agnostic, this, that, all we spoke of, will go out of the window because people won't be able to onboard to the skill or the
Mm.
product or the features they need to sell. And ultimately, 60-70% of your workforce is going to be customer facing, be it
Right.
fintech, be it edtech or whatever. 60-70% is going to be customer facing. And if they cannot deal with customer with the comfort and confidence, so many a times a very, I would say, sidelined function or role, which is of functional training. I am corporate HR, I am this and that. No, please. First, you have to ensure that your people can talk to customer in the best possible way. So I have been
Correct.
very strong proponent of functional training, even if it is
Mm.
at cost of some of the good to see and sellable HR initiatives. I would first want to strengthen functional training. And it is very much in continuation of this functional training piece is supervisory and leadership development. At
Mm.
least in
Mm.
India, how it happens is if you are a good individual contributor, a top performer, you will get elevated to be a team lead. And then so on and so forth journey is more marked by your success milestones. But approach to lead people, to be a good leader, to be a good supervisor are probably not exactly taught. You are left to find it out on your own, see people around you, and if entire gamut is not the best role model, then you are going to be losing some of the things which should be there, right? So a lot of focus on supervisory and leadership development. I try to bring wherever I'm leading the HR piece. I try to bring that, and then of course your talent management, retention tool, employee engagement, all the pillars you can think of, and of course I have been part of setups where from a mid-level kind of a employee engagement, employee satisfaction course scores when I joined to taking it to top 30, top 50 in the space in surveys
Right.
like Place to Work. I have been doing that journey, but not at cost of the basics, not at cost
Mm.
of basics. And these are some of the tenets I have been following. And secondly is you have to understand the business problem, business issues, and then weave your people initiatives around it.
Mm. Mm.
Right. If
Mm.
if attrition is high, it cannot just be parked as, oh, maybe it's a culture issue. You need to probably understand it a bit more. If it is attrition, which segment? Is it frontline sales? If frontline sales, which segment? Is it infant attrition within 3 months of joining, people are leaving? Then is it because of unable to reach the incentive thresholds? And at that 20-25K kind of a CTC, monthly salary, probably those profiles may not be able to survive in the tier one, tier two metro cities. Is that the driving reason? If that is so, then probably the things which probably I was doing, enhance your functional training, enhance your supervisor's ability, make your incentive schemes resonate with this ground reality, right?
Right.
How you will incentivize your supervisor to invest in the team rather than focusing on out of a span of six reportees,
Mm.
rather than focusing on one or two superstars, how to ensure that all five, six are enabled and are powerful, are productive, right? Can incentive have components of boosters, if not docking?
Mm.
Right. So
Mm. Mm.
sometimes
Mm.
these are basics, but if you are not using them aligned to your business problem, you will build castles while palace was needed, or vice versa. You'll build palace while castle was needed, and you'll be doing something which looks great on your profile or your LinkedIn page, but may not be requirement of the hour. So I just try to
Right.
be much in sync with what is my business requirement. COVID had different set of requirements. I have been into a previous organization into SME lending space, right? So we were
Right.
hit by three disruptions. First, it was demonetization. Our segment was kind of restaurant owners. If you are not having cash and you are not into digital, probably you will start cooking food at home. You will not go to restaurant. So restaurant
सही
income
बात
comes
बिल्कुल
from, right? So defaults will come,
बिल्कुल
right? So demonetization impacted, then GST impacted, and then COVID impacted. And COVID was like a black swan. No one knew what to
राइट
and how to deal, right? So
राइट
unless you are
राइट
able to fine tune your HR strategy, HR agenda to these realities, you will become someone who is very isolated, who is playing his own tune, and while other business
राइट
problems are struggling and struggling to survive, and you are talking of, okay, why don't we start a leadership development program with AI in Manila, right? It won't work. Right. So that practicality I want to be always bringing to table, and probably that is where product strategy background, some level of BD work which I have done does help me to be able to understand the people on other side. while knowing
Sure.
that probably I am the only one who has to bring to table the people issue. I have
Mm.
been fortunate enough that my founders, CEO bosses have been the one who are proponent of people as much as of business. But otherwise, on the table, almost everyone else is going to be talking about business, and I'm the only one who has to talk about people, but not without understanding and without thinking of business problems. So that's the
Correct.
balancing act I do try to do all the times.
Very holistic, I must say. I mean, you know, it's good to hear and personally deeply resonate with a lot of what you've been saying. I mean, we engage with a lot of HR leaders, and sometimes doing the basics is what really matters. And when you say respect, I think the journey really begins there. And
Hmm.
I've seen organizations do a thousand other things except that, and none of that succeeds if the
Hmm.
foundation is not right, you know. So, and I've also seen that even if you are, you know, not very high on some of the other parameters which people value today, but you're deeply respectful as an organization.
Hmm.
I have seen magically people contribute and stay on for much longer periods of time, knowing that their market value could have been higher, knowing
Hmm.
that they could have been at a different career pace in another organization, but just that fabric of
Hmm.
respect, I think has a lot of magic, and you know, completely resonate with that. And you know, you said a lot of other beautiful things as well, and one of them, you know, is about balancing business needs and stitching your HR strategy in line with the people needs. Uh, which is again easier said than done. But I think you also went on to talk about how you are stitching different ways in which incentive plans can operate and things like that, so
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
you know it becomes a little bit more of a self-initiated versus somebody you know driving it down. So yeah, good to
Hmm.
know that. And as I move change gears, and you know maybe one more question I'd like to ask you is career growth is a big important aspect, right? I mean, uh, people these days they get bored very soon, right? I mean, you know, there was a time when uh, we'll patiently wait कि अभी 4 साल हुए नहीं है 4 साल हुए, then I'll ask for my next
Hmm.
role or my next promotion or whatever it is. And now these days you're saying 1.5 years people are itching for more. How have you
Hmm.
been handling this, and any quick thoughts around it?
Right. So broadly, it is again happening out of one is boredom, and two is kind of a notion of, okay, my value or my market price is slightly higher, so can I keep on switching, right? And if you know that, okay, every one and a half year there is going to be an age, and exactly this 1.5 years is 18 months or 6 quarters.
Yeah,
So in one of the stints, what we realized is in good HO and mid management profiles, we were seeing the same age, a good double-digit kind of attrition being witnessed. All employee engagement and all plethora of things are there, but still, and decent increments in spite of some bad years. Still, those things were there. Because one, the person was looking at maybe a 30-40% kind of a delta at a new opportunity, the very usual mindset. And second, maybe a level up. If you are a manager, you will be senior manager. If you are a senior manager, you will be AVP, right? And that's the market reality, ground reality. So
right.
what we created was a program which we used to call Step Up.
Mhm.
And what it entailed is if you are part of that critical talent pool, which used to be roughly 10% of the organization, right? Mid-level, slightly entry level, but with good pedigree, and so on and so forth, used to be the set of those people. Many corporate roles, but few field roles as well. So reasonable distribution and inclusion of profiles into it. And what we used to do is you were in a proper forum, communicated that you are part of that pool. Every quarter there will be a delta coming your way in your com.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
don't necessarily have to wait for 1 year, 1.5 year. Like cycles are there, right? If you join October, probably your
yeah.
next increment will happen 18 months from now, right? If it is a usual way. But so you anyway tell the person you are that tool. Every quarter, this correction is there. And towards end
Correct.
of 1 year or 1.5 year, unless something goes wrong through your side, we are committed to step you up. So if you are manager, you're going to be senior manager. If you are senior manager, you're going to be AVP. Right? So that roadmap is anyway given on a paper to the talent pool. And what it did was wonder, something which was in decent two digits came down to very manageable single digit. I mean, any organization will probably be proud of to get their talent retained to that level. And then, of course, that thing
Correct.
continued. I'm sure it would be continuing even today. Every 18
Same.
months, you are knowing where you're gonna be after that period of 18 months. So that itch doesn't come. And what it further helps is once a person knows that organization is invested in me, person reciprocates, and that stepping up used to be in literal sense. A manager you start will start behaving like a senior manager, a senior manager like a AVP, a AVP
Right.
like a function head, right? That stepping up used to
Right.
get resonated, and the dynamics of the organization change, the vibes, the positivity on the floor that change. So that is how it was. Something exactly coming from your 1.5 year broken into 18 months or 6 quarter, and that is how that scheme was in place and continues to be. So yeah, some learnings from the ground, they do help, and good leaders who are guiding you does help you to come up with beautiful schemes.
Amazing. Vivek, I can continue this conversation for a long period of time, but I think in the interest
Yeah.
of time, my last question to you.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, 2025 is drawing to a close, the new year is around the corner. What is your one big message for the HR community when you look at the year ahead
Mm-hmm.
and you look at things happening around us in the HR space? What are your quick, quick one or two key messages for the HR community?
Yeah. So one thing which I always see and tell my team, my colleagues, my peers in HR is, see, don't be frustrated or I would say depleted by social media. Yeah,
Mm.
there are sweet spots, and there are those who probably will get targeted. HR being on the other side where you will get targeted. Social media jokes and LinkedIn and whatnot. A lot of them will be on HR,
Yeah.
but you are one who is bringing a very different value to the table because you are
Mm.
probably the only one who brings people point of view on the table, right? One is that. So understand your importance. Second, as long as you are able to weave employee initiatives which are marrying employee aspiration with organization business requirements, you will be of immense value to any setup you are part of. Whichever sector, whichever domain, you will be of immense value. One example is 25 to 26 transition is probably another black swan in the making in the form of AI, right? There was a time when computer was new, online was new, smartphone was new. It did some level of AI is going to
Yeah.
be probably an amplified version of that change, right? Do employee want to know how I can be better using AI? Answer is yes. Do organization want to use AI? Answer is yes. Where is
Mm.
ambiguity, which is driving insecurity or whatever is there, is non-clarity on how effectively to use AI,
Mhm.
right? But that is going to be a transient phase. What is needed is if both employee and organization want AI to be towards more core of things and initiatives and process
Right.
and practice. Are you being a fence sitter watching things to happen and waiting for your organization head to give you an instruction that, okay, please do? Or you can sense it and start doing it through your own initiatives that, okay, through third party, in-house, whatever.
Yeah. Sure.
Can you be the catalyst of those AI agenda and trainings? Right? I go back to COVID time when everyone was to be in home, still customers were to be engaged, teams were to be engaged, work was to be done. So were you a HR who was on the back seat waiting for things to happen, or were you a HR who were trying to help with this transition? How supervisor can
Right.
manage team remotely? How individuals can manage customer better remotely? Were you the one who was trying to give those trainings and insights? Or were you the one waiting, okay, let the lockdown end and let's see how many of us are still there? That was the approach, right? So I think as long as you are able to on the forefront of things and proactive, again repeating, bringing people initiatives who are in which are in tune with business requirement, business problems, you are going to be of immense value. And don't be flustered by whatever social media is talking or typecasting HR with. You should know your value, you should command your respect, look for it, and be in sync with what you are expecting in your deliveries, and you will be very sorted.
Oh, but yeah, I think it's been quite a masterclass these few minutes for people who are, trying to solve some of these challenges, and it's been amazing hosting you, Vivek. It's been amazing to hear about your views, and I think personally a lot of resonance with what you've said. My best wishes to you for the journey ahead. Keep shining, keep adding great value to the function, and continue being a pioneer. Thank you so much for joining us today, Vivek. It was lovely
Thanks,
talking to
thanks a
you.
lot, Gaurav, and your team as well. It has been a privilege and a pleasure. And do foresee other avenues where we'll probably get a chance to be together. I'm sure of that.
Surely.
Thank you.
Looking forward. Looking forward. Thank you so much.